Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 136 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek. As start with the Whitecaps at first, back from their 2-week break, and it was not the restart they wanted. 3-2 loss in Flockman. Didn't get to see this game, but I rewatched it a little bit. And despite a Ryan Gauld brace and a goal, the goal the week for him, it was a rather flat performance.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad performance, you can say. There were a few bright spots in the first half. I thought Javane Brown did quite well. He was definitely a threat on that right-hand side, put in a number of crosses into the box, and seemed to be actually one of the bigger creators on the night. In the second half, again, it really did seem to fall apart. It became very, very difficult for the Whitecaps, especially in the middle of the park, and especially with Carlshill, who seemed to orchestrate this entire game from minute one right through until the very end.
Yeah. And yeah, he just tore the Whitecaps apart, and majors. So that's also got a sting.
Yeah. We were talking with Ryan Gauld after the match, and, obviously a good individual performance, a brace on the night. But he had a lot to say about the team in general and himself. Basically, a lack of intensity, a lack of he didn't want to blame weather or travel or anything like that. But he said, even getting out to the first 45 and coming into the half, it felt like even though they had those 2 weeks off, they felt tired. They felt like they weren't prepared. Obviously, they got a little bit of their energy up going into the second, but whatever they brought into the match wasn't sustainable. He included himself within that, even though he obviously was man of the match, and he ended up with a goal of match day for all of MLS as well. But it was a very difficult match on a whole. In particular, you can take a look. I know I talked about Javane Brown and what I liked from him going forward, but the back line defensively left a lot to be desired, especially on the first and the third goals.
Yeah, especially Renko Veselinovic did not have a good night.
Yeah. You know what? More often than not, he's a very consistent guy, but this was definitely not his night. You're going to say that even your top players end up having off nights. Let's hope this was a rare one for him.
And good for Ryan Gauld to get the brace, especially that goal at the end. Fortunately, it was but it won goal of the week. But the more important thing is that Whitecaps did not put up a good performance. Ryan Gauld said after the match, if I remember correctly, that he would trade those 2 goals for 3 points, which is a nice thing to hear from your captain.
It's something you said before is, it's always about the team and not the individual effort. He's not really one to go for individual accolades. The 3 points is more than enough for him because it moves the team forward rather than, an individual performance. A couple of other notable things to talk about the game. I thought when Giuseppe Bolavina came on, I thought he did rather well. The thing with Bolavina is I really love his energy. I really love the intensity. I really love the fight that he brings. I feel that he's still very, very early in his Whitecaps career, and he still needs coaching as to where to direct it 100% of the time. Sometimes it feels like he's a bit of a loose cannon. He's just trying to be everywhere all at once. And I feel if once match time comes, that's going to become more and more tailored to what his role is supposed to be. And I have no doubt that he's going to get there. What I've seen from him so far, I enjoy. But I also feel like it's the time to see him start. I want to see what he can do with a couple of starts under his belt and whether or not he can take the game by its reins right from the first minute rather than the 60th or the 70th minute, right? I don't want to see him just be a piece. I feel that if you put him in and you play him properly, you play him on as a wide guy and not try to throw him in as, like a weird, like number 10 or, basically wherever you're trying to fit him in as an attacking piece late in the game, put him in a position he understands and let him actually make it his. I'm at that point where I want to see what he can actually do with consistent play.
Yeah, and Bovalina has only started once this season. That was in the Canadian Championship. And from what we have seen of him off the bench, there is promise there.
Yep.
He's been good at making crosses, but as like you said, he needs a start or two so we can really see the player that the Whitecaps brought in. And plus, when he first arrived here, it would take time for him to establish himself. And a start or two would give him that opportunity.
I think what's the nice thing about Bovalina is that he got thrust into the Whitecaps lineup actually earlier than they had expected to use him. And that was to do with the injury to Sam Adekugbe. Adekugbe, obviously, we're still waiting to hear. Right now, there doesn't really seem to be a date. He is training, but the injury is still niggling. It's kind of following him along. So unfortunately, he's still not ready. But I think even when Bovalina got thrown in rather early, I think he was already given his first minutes. I don't even think he'd been with the team a week at that point when he came off the bench his first time.
Yeah,
but
like that.
He did well. He threw into it, and he seems to have risen to the challenge. That was initially given to him. I want to start giving him more. You talked about Veselinovic not having a good night. I think we can say the same about Sebastian Berhalter. And I think what we really saw, especially when you have such a creative guy like Hill in the middle of the park, when you don't have Andres Cubas and what that does to you in limiting guys like Hill.
Yeah, and like we said last week that Berhalter looked more comfortable this season, higher up the pitch.
Yeah.
In this game, he was in the Cubas role, which he excelled well at last season, but did not have the greatest game. And Carlos Hill took pretty much him and everyone apart, and it just was a disappointing game from Sebastian Berhalter, and that goes to show that there's still depth issues with the Whitecaps. Not only Cubas, but Ali Ahmed is off to Copa America for Canada. More on that later.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's a little bit difficult is you're moving Berhalter back there, and we have to remember the amount of work that Cubas is doing in that kind of number 6 role. He's doing a lot of work because of who he's being paired with. More often than not, is Pedro Vite, who's playing deeper alongside him. Berhalter can do the job when he's paired with a like-minded guy. When he's paired with someone else, and he's kind of being forced to do that cleanup by himself, because he doesn't consistently have time there, it's almost like you have to kind of readapt to the role, and that takes time before you actually get yourself into the match. It's too little too late at that point. And that's what we see. I fully know that Berhalter can do the job. We've seen him do it, but he's not there consistently. So it takes time to kind of reacclimate.
Pedro Vite, and he was playing deeper again. And this guy's he's simply not a deep lying playmaker. Because
I told you what I thought about that before. I mean, like, not only is his creative stats gone down, his defensive stats have gone down.
Yeah, because there's more pressure on him to be one of the defensive guys.
And I mean, this is one where I'm going to say it's more of me not agreeing necessarily with the coaching than the player. I just think the player is not being used to his best ability in this role. I get it. You want to try. You want to see if you can adapt to the role and see if it works. I don't think it has. I think it's time to see that it's an experiment. It's not working. It's like Christian Dahome as a wingback. It didn't work. Okay, so we move on and find out what does. That's what we need to do now.
Yeah. And
The other thing that made this game difficult was Alessandro Schopf before the match came down with an illness. I think he had taken a bit of a during the break. Players on vacation and whatnot. He had taken a bit of a break uh, with family and came back with a bug, so he did not travel with the team. So all of a sudden, you're removing Schopf, you're removing Kubas from your midfield, your two most experienced guys that can play that deeper role, or that traditionally play that deeper role. So that makes things a little bit more difficult as well for Sartini in trying to create his lineup.
yeah, like someone like Alessandro Schuff would have helped. Someone like a
Yeah.
Pedro Vite, because Schuff can run around, track back, while Vite can just stay higher up the pitch and wait for the opportunity to be a more creative guy. And again, Noah Buck and Esmir, I don't know, Barak, like 18, 19 years old, and just not just getting lit up by a bunch of teenagers, but New England Revolution scored 3 goals for the first in a game for the first time this season. And it also stings that they lost to one of the worst teams in MLS, and a team that had struggled to score goals all season.
Yes, they are they have been historically so far this year a bad team in the East. But we have to remember, just as the Whitecaps had won 2 games before the international break, so too would New England. New England was kind of trying to refine their form as well. They also had a number of players coming back from injury. I mean, their injury list, I think, was in the double digits before the international break. That plays into it as well. When they start finding form, they come back. Now it's 2 teams that are trying to reignite themselves. Well, one team carried on, one team didn't.
And team looked more ready. The other team did not, because right from the get-go, New England was quick. They were urgent. White couldn't say the same about the White.
No. I thought it was also interesting is Sartini going back to playing White and Krylak together. Krylak getting a rare first start because he was dealing with injury. I understand wanting to get them both out there, but they're kind
Again,
of two
I don't
guys
think
made
those
a
two
little
should
bit
play
of the
together.
same mold. So I'm not too sure how that fits really well.
That's exactly why.
Like you don't really put 2 target guys out together, right?
Yeah, they're 2 slow guys, and for a team that is emphasizing like transitions and counterattacks, it's not. I guess Pico just came back from international duty, but still.
Yeah, he is someone that I may have wanted to put on there, dropping 2 back, going with 2 10s and 1 9, but yeah, I don't know. I feel a few decisions in this game were made because of late returns, but also because of Schopf's illness. I think that threw a little bit of a wrench into things.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree there. But you got to make the most of. You got to cook with what you have, and fortunately, Sartini did not cook something great.
Unfortunately, no. So what that does for the Whitecaps is it leaves them kind of still sputtering in that table. They are still
5th, I believe.
They're in 6th.
Yeah, they are. Now. Oh, 6th, because games are actually happening right now.
There are games happening right now. But the thing is based on every other team around them, they've got at least 1 or 2 games in hand. So, I mean, they come up, they play Portland on the weekend. They could be sitting right back in 5th, knocking on the door of the top 5. It can happen. Portland right now, I mean, as of
they're actually playing right now.
And they're up 1-0, which puts them right behind the Whitecaps. We'll have to wait and see how that one comes out. But Whitecaps kind of seem to be stuck in first gear.
Yeah. Or 2nd gear.
2nd gear? Okay. I don't know.
Like
I don't know if I go that far.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, as we speak, 37 minutes into the Earthquakes Timbers game, and Timbers are up 1-0. That's who Vancouver is playing next. It'll be off to Providence Park down in Portland. and always a raucous atmosphere. So the Timbers have not won since May 20, nothing on the road. And heading into tonight, they're coming off two draws, one against Houston and one against St. Louis.
Yeah. Portland is a team that didn't have the greatest of starts to the season.
No.
They struggled, but they're trying to find their form as well. Heading into the international break, they had a couple of wins and a couple of draws. So they, even if they go and end up doing what they're doing right now, they'll be undefeated in 5 matches, which I mean that bodes well for them, and it also shows you why they've started to enter the playoff race, right?
Right. And Portland was one of the few people did not seem happy about that. And the Timbers last played the Whitecaps back in April at BC Place. That was that. But this time the Whitecaps are going to their turf, and Portland will be without Maxime Crepeau, and they will be without Kamal Miller for Copa America. And unlike them, the Whitecaps will come into Portland more rested, and not only that, no excuse this time because less travel.
Less travel, and
So,
let's hopefully a little bit of history. The Whitecaps played Portland earlier this season and did come away with a win. So hopefully they're able to take that and run with it as well.
as well, and I mean Portland, like some of the players they do have, like that Evander is someone that in their last meet, I believe he scored the second goal that tied the game, and I think he assisted the first. So that's someone they should be really.
Vander someone has always been dangerous, not only playing on the Whitecaps, but anyone.
Yeah, and look at that, he scored the goal in the game against San Jose so far,
yeah.
and I believe he's one of the leading scorers in MLS.
Yeah. Moving on, we should talk about a rumor coming up with the Whitecaps. As we all know, the summer transfer window for MLS is coming up here very, very soon, especially as we start to see summer transfer windows in Europe and elsewhere move on. Whitecaps are being attached to a name of a brand new midfielder from England, a guy named Mark Leonard, who is with Brighton.
Yeah, and this has been reported by various outlets.
Yep.
Tom Bolger did say an MLS team, none other than the Vancouver Whitecaps, and got reports in England confirming this, and reports out of even Italy.
I will say the one thing with Leonard is he's a bit of an in-demand guy right now. He's very young. He's only 22 years old. So it does make me wonder what kind of contract, if the Whitecaps are looking at him, what kind of contract they may be looking at. One of the things Axel Schuster had talked about is that if they're looking in the summer, they're not really looking necessarily to fill that empty DP slot they have, but they would look at the U22 initiative spot. I do wonder, I know he's 22 right now, but based on his age, does he make that cutoff? I'm not too sure. But you have a number of clubs from League One and the championship looking at Leonard as well, including Derby, Oxford United, Cardiff City, and Birmingham City, amongst others as well. So it does look like this young midfielder is on the move. It's just a matter of where. Whitecaps definitely are trying to throw their hat into that as well. And it sounds like it could be a transfer fee upwards of about 600,000, I believe.
That's what 610K, and even Wrexham are linked to Mark Leonard.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, Scottish guy, I mentioned 22 years old, came through the Brighton and Hove Albion Academy, but has spent the last 2 seasons on loan with get promoted 2 seasons ago from League Two to League One, and from what I was reading, it seems like Leonard was arguably their best player
Leonard is also known as a bit of an
last.
attacking midfielder, which if we were talking, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I was saying one of the pieces I want is someone to link up the in the middle of the park.
Yeah,
Leonard, I mean, from what I can see about him, he does seem like he kind of fits the bill. It'll be interesting. I'm not too sure if he's that guy, and I'm not too sure if he is going to be interested in MLS. If he's got interest from championship side clubs, that might be a bit of a bigger pull than moving halfway around the world, especially at a young age of 22.
And just looking at the analytics and all that from Who Scored, his biggest strengths are passing and also track back and make tackles and start transitions. I mean, from what they're saying, he seems like a guy that I have to question, is this worth using in a U22 spot? Do you make him play young DP? Does he want to come here when he has Wrexham and all other teams?
I think if you're going to convince him to come here, you're going to have to convince him that he's going to have a certain number of games. You're going to have to say that you're going to be playing. And if that happens, what does that do to players? And I think one of the players that might find themselves the odd man out is Alessandro Schaff.
Yeah, because the skill set of Leonard and Schaff are pretty similar.
Leonard's also a lot younger. He's still going to be on the upswing in terms of developing his skill. And I think if Leonard is utilized how I imagine him utilized, it frees up Vite to move further up. I think Leonard could complement Kubas by playing a little higher up than Kubas, but being that guy that can get those quick transitions. On paper, it sounds nice. On paper, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. First off, if it's even possible. So I'm happy that we're starting to get information like this and that it is being widely reported. It's not just one outlet here or there, which at that point, who knows what to believe. This one does seem to be pretty definite that the Whitecaps are at least in the hunt, but they are in the hunt with a lot of other teams and a lot of other teams that might have a bit more pull.
Yeah, I feel like this is a guy that would work well together with Ryan if Gold is playing higher up.
Yeah,
with Brian White. So I don't know. I'm not saying, wow, they should really push for this guy.
But it's nice.
It's nice, but he brings what they need. But will he come here? Will he want to?
That's the big thing. It's are you going to have to give away too much to entice him to come here? And is he at the level where the Whitecaps are willing to spend that?
I would assume Leonard is on the top of a list of other targets.
I would assume so as well.
Caliber.
I would assume so as well.
And I would assume that the other targets are around his age.
Which I do like. I mean, that's something that the Whitecaps do is when they use these slots, they do look at younger players. So I am okay with them doing that. I think it also allows him to develop with the Whitecaps and learn within their system as he's developing his own skill set as well.
Yeah, this is a unpolished gem, as they would say. And we'll see if this rumor
plays out.
Or goes any Caps or go somewhere else.
Absolutely. All right, should we move on?
Yeah, a little bit about MLS. Involving Steven Eustachio has been linked to a move to MLS. And who are those teams? It has not been mentioned.
Yeah, all we know is that it's a number of teams that could be interested in the Canadian, I guess, midfielder. But here's the thing is I would be very, very selfish and say if the Whitecaps are on him, yes, that's great. but
That's funny.
I don't think it's the best move for Steven Eustachio.
Yeah, I think it would be better for him to stay in Europe and just put himself on the map there.
Eustachio is in his prime. He's 27 years old. He's lived the majority of his life and has got his family established in Portugal. Like he's been there for a long time. Like he's played with a number of clubs in Portugal going back 11 years. So that's where his career has been.
Long time.
That's where he started. In fact, you can take a look at his youth career going back to 2005. So we're talking about when he was 9 years old, Portugal. I think you're going to have a number of clubs within. If he doesn't have a home at Porto, which I think he can work his way into that squad. I think he is of that caliber, but he's going to have a number of suitors in Europe and good suitors.
Yeah, and
like I said, I'm selfish. I would love to see him in Vancouver, but
I don't know much about Porto.
Yeah.
I would much rather have him stay in Europe, whether that's Porto or somewhere else.
Me too. Europe and playing at a very, very, very high level, and obviously in a team fighting in Champions League.
Yeah, and I assume was one of the regulars this past season.
He's been a little bit in and out of the lineup this past year, but I mean, he's got over 50 games with Porto. I mean, he is an established individual within that squad, but this year has tailed off a little bit. That's not to say that it can't come up. And I mean, I can understand that he might be kicking the tires to look somewhere else. Like I said, he's 27 years old. He needs to be playing game in, game out. This is the part of your career where you don't think about tired legs. You just think about getting those legs on the pitch.
Starts this past season, so getting a fairly good amount of game time, unless he wants a really bigger role where he can be the main man. And not a suited for him if he's looking elsewhere in MLS and in Europe. And Georgios Yokomakis, who just signed in Mexico, tells the media there Mexico, league out MLS is it's okay to lose games, and I hate it.
Here's the thing. The bad thing about MLS is that it's okay to lose some games, and I hate it. I understand from the player, and it's not necessarily the thing I would say to media, but I also don't disagree with him. It is okay to lose games in MLS because you've got the cushion of a playoff to go and win MLS Cup. That's the difference when it comes to other leagues around the world. Yes, there are other leagues that have playoffs, but they don't allow 70% of your teams to make the postseason, right? If anything, it's going to be maybe the top 20, maybe 25% of teams. And even then, playoffs are usually there to decide a promotion. That's not the case in MLS. MLS is supposed to be the top league. I get it. They're appealing to a North American audience. You're going to have playoffs. That's just the way it is.
That's the way.
But knowing where this individual comes from, who is used to a brand of football that is very, very different, I understand that it can rub them the wrong way. I just don't think you need to go out and say it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not kind of like the Stephen A. Smith quote. You're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it.
Yeah, right. It's like I said, I agree with you, but what? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really bother me too much because I'm not an Atlanta guy, but yeah, it just feels unnecessary.
Yeah, your team clinches the playoffs, it's okay to lose because you're already gonna be in the playoffs, and that isn't Europe.
Yeah.
Like in the
Well,
whole
you
load
know what?
management.
MLS doesn't have to deal with him anymore, and he doesn't have to deal with MLS unless it comes to Leagues Cup. So,
Yeah, and he'll face an MLS side in the summer. So tomorrow, Copa America for the first time ever will play in the Copa America, and they are playing none other than the defending champions, the reigning world champions, Argentina.
yeah, why not make it easy with the first match, right? Let's pick the current holders of the World Cup to play.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy match, but Canada also gave themselves a very, very difficult test facing Netherlands and France to get ready for a match like this. Um, I think you are deluded if you are expecting a win. I
yeah,
think you are possibly looking at wishful thinking if you're looking for a draw. You're hoping to give yourself a good showing because you're opening the tournament with this game and you want to get out of here relatively unscathed so you can
yeah,
concentrate on Peru and Chile.
yes. And I mean, a win or a draw would be great, but let's face it, it's not that realistic.
If they got a draw, I will say that my hope
Argentina,
for them to qualify at least second in the group skyrockets.
yeah, way up.
Skyrockets. And that's not to say anything against Peru and Chile. These are both very, very difficult teams. Both of these teams are ranked higher in the FIFA rankings than
Chile is 32.
Yeah. And I think
Peru is
Peru's
right
in
at
the 30s.
39, right ahead of Canada.
Right ahead. Okay. So
yeah,
I have Chile at 42. Yeah, 42. You're right. So they are punching up, right? Like these are matches that, you know, if you want to start making teams notice you, these are the teams that you could be not just targeting to test yourself, but targeting to say like, no, we need to get a result. I look at this group, and I mean, I'm not going to say this is going to be like Portugal when they won the Euro and they didn't actually win a game in the group stage. I think they came out of the group stage with like 3 points, went on to win the whole damn thing. If they can get out with 4 points, if they can get 4 points, there's a chance.
Yes, if they can at least get a.
It's going to be a very difficult chance.
But... Yeah, but this would be. This is a big test in Sports Network. This is a big test, a rehearsal for the 2026 World Cup themselves that they belong at these type of tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, every bit of that is true. The one thing that is a little bit different with Copa than the Euros is that there is no third place finishers in the group stage that move on, where in Euros, the certain percentage of the third place get to go on. In Copa, it's number 1, number 2. That's it. So you have to get results. You have to get at least, I'm still saying, I think it's a minimum 4 points to even have a hope. And even then, that's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be a very slim hope. Obviously, 6 points is much more comfortable, and I think 6 points you'll be fine. I'd like to see them get 4. They might not qualify out of the group, but if they get 4, I'm going to be happy with what Canada does.
Yeah, again, yeah. If they don't qualify out of the group, and if they've won at least one game, got 4 points.
Yep. You got to target at least one of those and say like, this is a red line, right?
Right, and we need to see growth, like from certain players. Can Jonathan David get back to form for international duties? Same with Kyle Aaron. He hasn't scored in a while.
I was going to say exactly that. We can talk about also Jesse March
Jean
named who's
Buchanan.
going to be his captain, which is going to be Alfonso Davies will captain the side. Stefan Eustachio will be on an alternate. So wearing that captain's armband, what does that do to Alfonso Davies? Does he step up to that challenge? Is this a case of where arguably your best player maybe shouldn't be the captain?
Davies can grow
It's going to be an
into the role
interesting
one day,
thing to look at.
but that day is not now.
No. So let's take a look at the groups. Let's take a look at the groups and kind of give our thoughts on who we want to go through or who we believe will go through. And we'll start with Group A in Canada. Canada, Chile, Peru, Argentina.
I'm going to say Argentina and Chile go through.
I'm going to say Argentina. That's a guarantee. And I'm going to be I'm going to be the homer. I'm going to say Canada squeaks in number 2. I am about 15% confident I'm right.
I'll say Canada finishes third. They'll just miss out.
Yeah, this can be like goal difference, right? Group B, Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, Jamaica.
We've talked about in the past that Mexico is not the same.
They're not.
Mexico that we're a team that are slowly improving over the years.
They are, but I'm going to say Ecuador tops the group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. I'll admit I don't know much about Venezuela.
I'm going to say Mexico, but I'm not 100% confident on that. I do wonder if Jamaica might squeak in. But I'm going to say Ecuador, Mexico.
Same.
Okay. Group C, USA, Uruguay,
and then Group
Panama,
C, Panama,
Bolivia.
Uruguay, USA. So Panama, you should count them out.
Yeah. It's Uruguay, USA. I think this is a very straightforward group.
Yeah.
Who's going to be number 1, number 2? I don't know, but it's going to be those two. And then we've got Brazil. Yeah, it should be. Especially with Bielsa, who's managing Uruguay and is doing an interesting job with them. Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, Costa Rica.
Brazil, I mean, even without Neymar,
it's going to be Brazil on top. I
still one of the best teams. And then Colombia, I think they should finish second.
I'm going to say Colombia as well. I think Colombia has a fantastic team, and also it's going to be a throw out to a friend of the show, Felipe Vejeo.
Yeah, who will actually watch Colombia and Brazil in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's going down to the game. Money bags over there, right?
They're driving too, so Cubas and Paraguay, I don't think they'll make it out of the group. Fortunately for the Whitecaps, Cubas can come home earlier.
Yeah, and then he can come home and rejoin the squad, right?
Right.
All right. So that starts up tomorrow. First game, Argentina, Canada. I believe it's going to be at 5:00 Pacific is when actual game time is. Pre-game, obviously, is going to be before that. Check it out. Rest of the matches start a day later.
Again, I hope Canada are up for the challenge because they've proven that they can play well against the big teams, against not embarrassing, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So Canada's Copa America journey begins tomorrow. Back to the CPL from Nathan for putting it on our podcast rundown. Media Pro and the Canada Soccer Business agreed to end the lawsuit, and at the end of the year, they'll cut ties.
Yeah. I think this was the only way it was ever going to end that was kind of the most amicable. What this means for where you're going to be able to see CPL next year, I don't know. Basically, the whole production side of things is being transferred ownership to, I think it's the guy who is the president of the CSB, but they still need someone to actually produce it. That's what
Yeah.
is going to be difficult. They're going to start shopping around. My guess is now that they've figured this out, they started shopping around as soon as this dropped. I hope they have a lot of time to do it, and I hope they figure something out because
Well, they
we
will
we're
have
on
a
the
lot of
cusp of
time
something
since
really really good here in Canada in terms of soccer, a men's league that is 6 7 years and kind of needs a bit of a jump start in order to keep going. A women's league that is on the cusp of starting next year and 6 teams raring to go. Um, League One levels across the country growing exponentially, possibly new ones happening in the prairies, Alberta, Atlantic provinces. You don't want to stop. You
we
want
want to
you
keep
want to kind of keep this momentum going. So we got to find ways to do it.
up in 2 years, less than 2 years. So got to keep
Yeah,
growing the game.
absolutely.
And I'm just reading here that yeah, the since it's the CPL and all that to be broadcasted, but right now, no word.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to find out any word until probably the end of this season. Uh, right now, it's just get through the season and then figure it out.
Probably not. And right now, the CPL, CONCACAF, Canadian national team. So let's move across the pond. The Euros have not disappointed at all. There's been some good games, some good goals, some interesting moments, and so far, it's been a pretty fun tournament.
I think it's
And
been a great tournament. Today, we just started the second round of the group stage matches. And yeah,
and
it's been fun. I think there's been a couple of surprises, nothing too out of the ordinary, I would say. Um, I don't know. What has been your match of the tournament so far?
the I would have never thought I'd say this last week. That Georgia
Georgia Turkey. I watched the highlights. I really, really wish
Turkey game,
I woke up at 6 to watch it, but that was from what I saw was an absolute barn burner.
back and forth action. None of that, like you know how modern football inverted fullbacks,
No,
ticky tack, and it was just. But and the players look like UFC wrestlers. Some bone crunching tackles,
no.
and the crowd was great. Again,
I think this
it's
also kind
football,
of
Harry.
solidifies
Want to go for
the.
Arda Guler?
I think this also solidifies Turkey as a very legitimate dark horse candidate. I think this is the Turkey side that they expected at the
Goes to
last
show they're not
Euro.
messing around.
Yeah. I think they're going to be definitely one to watch. I mean, they had 22 shots, 8 on net, but 22. They were dictating a lot of what was happening. Georgia didn't go down quietly, but yeah, Turkey was a very, very interesting one to watch. Then we can talk about some of the boring matches. Serbia, England.
This is my biggest problem with Gareth Southgate. His team back and just protect it. Let's relax a little and see if we can squeak out a win.
Yeah. I think there's questions as to what is Phil Foden doing.
No wonder.
Do you put Trent Alexander-Arnold in the midfield? I'm not too sure about that. I mean, this game was so boring that an English fan fell asleep in the stadium and woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning with absolutely no one there. Nobody came to check on him. He literally woke up and the stadium was completely empty. And he was just
At
filming
4 a.m.
himself as if he was like Cillian Murphy in 28 Days Later.
to someone.
I mean, if you're making your own fans fall asleep in the stands, and English fans, let's be honest, English fans are a bit of a unique breed when it comes to fandom for any sport. If you're making them fall asleep, something's a little bit off with your product.
Yeah, and like they were barely attacked.
It was, yeah. It was
Hacking the second
difficult
for
to
them.
watch.
Yeah, that was painful. But also some more other games like France.
Yeah, I think we've got our first
Austria
candidate
didn't
for
score
who's
the
going to be
goal.
wearing a face shield.
Yeah, and the Ninja Turtle jokes were off the charts
No,
on Twitter, and the mask is not going to help things
no,
for
not
Kylian
really.
Mbappe.
My heartbreak of the tournament so far was Portugal, Czech Republic. 1-1 draw, which I think Czechs would have taken that any day of the week. But Cancelo scores in the 92nd minute to give Portugal the win. I think for me, that's the heartbreak so far.
Draw, and Cancelo is the son of Sergio
Yeah,
Cancelo. That's why his name sounded familiar. Like, oh, have I heard that name before? Oh yeah, it's his son.
yeah. Yeah,
And
and
Cristiano Ronaldo to carry.
yeah. I mean, Ronaldo definitely you know why he's there. He's still creating chances. He's still playing at a high level. He's still doing really really well. But you kind of almost want a Portuguese manager to be brave and say, "You now play for the system. The system doesn't play for you." And I don't think we're seeing that yet. We're still seeing everything tailored around what works for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, because in that first half, it was just pass to Ronaldo.
Yeah. And I don't think you need to do that. The thing is I
See
think
what happens.
Portugal is
The
a
other step
fun
up.
team on their own. Let them
Yep.
play.
And Ronaldo's got a good supporting cast, like the best supporting
Great. Portugal, I
cast he's
mean,
had.
yeah. Anyway, tomorrow we start off with Slovenia, Serbia, go to Denmark and England. Hopefully, it's a little bit better than England's first matches. And then big game, Spain, Italy, two of the Giants will be playing to finish off the round of matches tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, Chelsea. We're in the silly season. We're in the thick of it. What's going on in Chelsea?
I'm not going to speak too much about this for Chelsea because there really isn't. Some are just outrageous. But there's some news that dropped today, thankfully. So Ian Maatsen is on his way out, and this was been coming for months. Borussia Dortmund, though, he's going to Aston Villa, and David Ornstein reported that agreement has been made, a fee of just about 35 million. Germano has reported that there could be another Chelsea player involved in the deal with Aston Villa. May not be John Duran, which I spoke about last week. So for Ian Maatsen, wish Pochettino played him more because he should accept in the final where he made that bad giveaway. But he wasn't given the chance at Chelsea and will likely blossom at Aston Villa.
As all players that leave do, right?
And then there are more silly season with the striker targets. So the interest is kind of cooled with John Duran. They're hesitating over the fee and what he brings and all that. They've been linked to Bournemouth's Dominic Solanke, even, who once upon a time was part of the Chelsea Academy. Reported today that Chelsea's first choice seems to be a guy named Samu Omorodion, and everyone was like, "Who?" He played for Atletico Madrid, but was on loan with Alaves last season. Only scored 8 goals with them, but it's kind of like another Nicholas Jackson, good in the and. I don't know. Maybe he could be something one day, but he is only 20 years old. And knowing Chelsea's transfer policy, this may or may not be another one.
And knowing Chelsea's transfer policy, they're going to give him an 8-year contract.
Yeah. So they can get around if wait, they'll probably find a way.
Oh yeah, right.
And man, they went from being linked to Osman, Sesko Alvarez to, but still, it's kind of jarring to see.
Was Chelsea
And,
ever one of the teams that was linked to Ivan Toney?
yeah, but nothing
Nothing really big. Okay.
like to him though. And but then Chelsea fans are already saying, "Oh, if we're going after a striker, we need to get him." He scored 14 goals in his first Premier League season and had 5 assists. I think 18 in all competitions. Yeah, he missed a lot of chances. There to see a top Premier League striker because he knows where to be. He's got the attributes, and I wouldn't like it this as much. His second season at Chelsea could be his chance to prove that he belongs and he can live up to his potential. So respect Nicholas Jackson because he could break out next season. Current selling, it seems the Gallagher talks have kind of stalled since Gallagher's busy off. Matt Law have reported that Chelsea will listen to offers from Marco Cucurella, who made a really good block against Croatia in the Euros and had a pretty good keep since Maresca wants an inverted fullback and Cucurella has that. But if you can get a good fee for him, why not? And try to get an upgrade, someone who is better. But if it does, we'll see. And then Michael Elise. So Crystal Palace have offered a new deal for him with a higher salary and an even bigger release. But Romano has reported that Chelsea are obsessed with Elise. They really want him. And Bayern Munich and Newcastle United are also allowed to talk to him. So it's all in Elise's hands. He can decide to come to Chelsea or go somewhere else or stay at Palace. It's all up to him. And I would too, because this is a player that could be on the verge of becoming a world-class one. So that's Chelsea. So what's up with Tottenham?
Yeah, so Spurs has got a few things again going back in and out. The big one right now is it looks like they are going to go all in on Crystal Palace winger Eberechi Eze. He is the guy they want this summer, whether or not they can get the deal done. But it looks like they're willing to break the bank at £60 million plus, potentially hitting that record transfer fee for Tottenham. He is the guy they want. I think he's only got a year left on his contract. It does sound like he has an agreement to leave Crystal Palace this year. If he decides, it's just a matter of getting it done. In terms of other wingers that Tottenham is looking at, they're also looking at Real Sociedad winger Takefusa Kobo, Japanese winger who plays in Spain. Guy, because everyone gets dubbed the something Messi. He's been dubbed the Japanese Messi, a guy with a really, really good technique and considered to have a very high ceiling. He's a name that's
going to put a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's a name that's been attached very, very loosely to Spurs over the past couple of months, but I think interest has peaked a little bit. I don't know if he is going to be, if it's like an and or with Eze. They both play on opposite sides, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. In terms of other ones, it looks like there is a verbal agreement with Ivan Toney in terms of personal terms. But it looks, it's kind of been reported a few different ways. There's been reports saying that Spurs put in a £40 million bid that got refused. Other people say that there's been no bid yet. So I don't really know what it is. Either way, it looks like Brentford wants about 65 million. Have to wait and see if they decide to take it right now.
Thought
Tony
they only
looking
wanted 40.
Sorry?
Thought they only wanted 40 million. Now they up the price.
I think that's because you got a number of people. They want to start a bidding war. Makes sense.
And it's a lot.
Yeah. Middle of the park, we know that they're looking at a midfielder. It looks like Tottenham might be trying to hijack Austin Villa's attempt at signing Weston McKennie. Currently on loan with Juventus. It looks like he's available for a cut rate deal of only about £15 million, which, I mean, if you can grab a guy for that, done. Weston McKennie is, again, another guy that I'd say for the past year and a half, almost 2 years, has been in and out in terms of interest with Tottenham. I guess he's back in. We'll have to wait and see. Yep. In terms of players on the way out, Genoa has submitted a bid for Jed Spence. Spence spent the last half of the season on loan to the Italian club. There was a buy option in it. Genoa did not exercise it. They want the player, but they don't want to pay what the buy option was for, so they're trying to get a bit of a smaller deal out of that. Emerson Royal could be also headed over to Italy. AC Milan submitted a 20 million euro bid. Spurs want 25. They're not too far apart. I do feel like this is one that will get done. It's just a matter of, ironing it out over the next week or two. With the Euros going on right now, Marc Gué, center back with England, has been attracting interest of a number of clubs, including Spurs.
Problem graduate as well.
Yep. He is Spurs, definitely looking for a center back. He is a name that's been looking more and more attractive, as well as including is Bologna defender Riccardo Calafiori, another guy that they're looking at.
Yeah, the guy, thousands Italian defender.
Yeah. We'll have to see if it's going to be interesting because I don't know if you saw Romania's game against Ukraine, but Dragusin, what he did on that, 100% aerial duels, 100% ground duels. He was an absolute monster on that back line. So, I mean, you bring in another guy like this and you have a back four of Mickey Van de Ven, Romero, Dragusin, and one other guy. I'm really liking that. It also kind of makes me wonder if Postecoglou might try to experiment with a back three, which if he does, I'm very, very happy. Other than that, not a whole lot of stuff going on. There hasn't been any actual signings that are concrete. We're up in the air.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected. We're not there yet, right? So we'll wait and see. And Spurs, I mean, aside from that 1 year, what was it, about 3 years ago? Spurs never do their business early. We got to wait until the last week of August.
Yeah, we're not going to see anything until like July, especially after Euros and Copa.
I think everyone's kind of waiting for that too, because the thing is players and agents are busy right now. So,
yep. One last thing: Brighton's new manager, the successor to Roberto De Zerbi, Fabian Hurzeller. This guy's only 31 years old.
31 years old. I mean,
I believe he has to be one of.
That's absolutely crazy. He's a German-American coach. He actually was born in Houston, Texas. So you can actually say you've got another German or another American in the
across the pond, yeah,
in the Premier League. Well, wait and see what happens with that. He came through as a player, playing for like a lot of second teams in Germany. Played for Bayern Munich, second team, Hoffenheim. Then finished his career with a few lower level teams. He was capped with the youth in Germany, but that was as far as it is. When he retired, he ended up managing one of his former clubs in FC Pimpensried. Again, one of the teams that he ended his career in. Ended up going to St. Pauli after that, and from St. Pauli, which he did quite well, is now over with Brighton. 31 years old.
Yeah, and he just took St. Pauli to the Bundesliga.
Yeah, he did, right? It's really interesting how you're seeing a lot of these managers that are coming from second divisions, getting teams promoted, but not staying with their teams because they're moving on elsewhere. Vincent Kompany.
Enzo Maresca, and now him.
Yeah. So interesting. Oh, and the other thing we should mention, Leicester looks like they might be having a new manager in Graham Potter here pretty soon.
He's been linked to Leicester since he got fired from Chelsea. So
yeah, but I think the news has been really heating up over the past 24 hours. So
yeah, and it's also
one where I kind of feel it's a Fabrizio Romano.
I'm also
here we go very soon.
I'm also reading now that the Guardian that was switching their focus to Steve Cooper.
Oh, really?
As apparently the talks with Graham Potter have stalled.
I don't know what Graham Potter wants. Like, I feel like because he managed Chelsea, I feel like he thinks he deserves much bigger than what he's being offered. Where we all know that him getting offered Chelsea was just a weird marriage to begin with.
Yeah, and it was doomed to fail.
Yeah, I still wonder if you're Graham Potter, why on earth did you not take that Ajax job? If it was truly offered to you, take Ajax. Build your resume.
I mean, Ajax is a good place to build.
Fantastic. Plus, you're talking about one of the best youth development academies in the world, right? That's what they're known for.
Yeah, I mean, the Dutch in general. So, right now, not much player manager. Only Arne Slot was unveiled as Liverpool manager.
Yeah,
like today or yesterday.
Yep.
So that'll conclude this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Hard to cram everything in like just over an hour, but we did.
Yeah.
So Whitecaps on Saturday in Portland, Copa America, Canada tomorrow. And summer of footy continues with the Euros and everything else. So follow me on Twitter at Joshua00, Nathan at Zendurek, podcast at Terminal City FC. We'll be covering all things footy for this summer for this podcast and the website. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Hello to everyone who joined in live afterwards. So this will be out as soon as I can. So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.